Hi, folks. I'm Bethany Benz Whittington, a PCUSA pastor and teaching elder. And one of my favorite things to do with my theological education is to take what I know, and apply it to everyday life. So that's what I'm doing here. Kind of like a sermon, but I will say things that your pastor probably won't. So that should be great fodder for discussion. So let's get started. Today we're talking about just compensation, and we'll work through both the story of the workers in the vineyard from the Gospel of Matthew and the worker strikes happening in Hollywood. So I hope you're as fascinated and moved by this current event as I am. So take a few moments right now and read together through Matthew chapter 20, verses 1 through 16. When you're done, just hit play and I will take it from there. Okay, so I'm just going to jump right in. The story of the workers in the vineyard is not about fairness. That's one of the most infuriating and freeing things about God's grace. It's a free gift to any and everyone, good or bad. Those workers who started early in the day felt like they deserved more pay than the ones who started later in the day. And to be fair, in a capitalist society, that's not really asking a lot of employers. More work hours, more pay. Easy, right? Well, as is often the case, Jesus has a different idea. Jesus is more concerned with everyone being able to eat than with fairness in pay. So to him, the employer was in the right to just give away the farm, as my mother would say. I like this story. It tells me that our lives are of more value to God than any corporate pay scale could ever reflect. God calls us into kingdom work, and no matter how early or late we arrive, or if we arrive at all, we are paid in grace. But, one objects in capitalism, that's not fair. Well, true, it's not fair. It is, however, just. And God is far more about justice than fairness. So, in that vein, let's talk about the strikes that are happening in Hollywood. Now, I am a little bit of a BuzzFeed addict, and one of my favorite things on their site lately has been pictures of all of these major celebrities down on the picket lines. Everyone from Bryan Cranston to Meryl Streep and Kerry Washington and Denzel. Young actors like Zendaya and Tom Holland, or more recently famous ones like Laverne Cox and Dan Levy. Even my favorite, Meghan Markle. I loved Suits. If you haven't watched it, you should. So I've really enjoyed seeing those pictures, not because those particular actors need more money, but because they exist in a community of support where other actors are barely scraping by. Martin Sheen and Jane Fonda are not out picketing because they feel they need larger paychecks. They are out picketing because Philip McFarland and Amy Tipton and Chantel Thrash and Peyton Turner and Abraham Jason need those increases. If you've never heard of those people, it's because they're the extras or crew or writers, all of them who go unnoticed and therefore grossly underpaid. Many, many, many of the most vital workers in the TV and film industry have second and third jobs just to keep roofs over their heads. Some of them sleep in their cars. But we don't hear about those people because the Martin Sheens and Jane Fondas, as much as I love them, take up all the space. And to be very clear, it is the opinion of Jesus that all people, regardless of the number of hours they work or the value of their work or their own personal righteousness, should have safe homes and food and clothing and healthcare, and I share that opinion. So yay for Denzel and Oprah and Zendaya and all the other single name actors who are out there every day organizing and advocating for, in a very real sense, the least among us. That is an appropriate and righteous use of power and influence and wealth. Now, on the other side of this issue is all the major studios, Disney, MGM, Netflix, etc. Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, has said that the strike is a major inconvenience and their demands are unreasonable. He even went so far as to say, "We will carry this out until those workers are sleeping on the streets." Out loud, he said that. Now, these issues that we are talking about are nuanced and varied, and I promise I'm going to do a future video on AI. But it must be said that simply hoping to be able to be housed and clothed and fed and doctors really isn't unreasonable. And to be very clear, Bob Iger is wealthier than all of those celebrities that I named before, except maybe Oprah. He doesn't worry about where he'll sleep or what he'll eat, or if a medical emergency comes up, will he be bankrupt? And therefore, it is unimaginable for him that others might live in those conditions. So, to bring this into perspective, my husband and I just watched the movie The Beanie Bubble. It's on Apple Plus. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend. It's very, very good. It's about Ty, the company that made Beanie Babies, and how it came to be such a huge phenomenon. And eventually, Ty Warner, the owner, becomes a billionaire, and he celebrates his billionaire status, his personal individual billionaire status, with one of his employees, Maya. Not her real name, Maya. Maya's been there for years at this point. She built the website. She wrote all the poems. Do you remember the poems that were on the little Beanie Baby tags? She's an integral part, not just of the company, but of the growth, success, and wealth of this company. And she is making $12 an hour. In real life, she was making $12.50. So the movie's a little bit off, but $12.50 from the biggest company in the world at the time. It got her a bunk bed in her parents' house. And Ty Warner, the billionaire, just couldn't understand why that was a problem for a grown adult woman. This is a microcosm of what we're seeing play out in Hollywood right now. And it's ironic that it comes directly from Hollywood, right? People are starving, living in their cars in order to do a job that they love and are passionate about. And the powers that be who hold all the cards and all the money, they either don't get it or they don't care. Now, look, I am all for working. And I love what I do. Many of our low-paying, no healthcare jobs are callings. I know mine is. And many of us sacrifice a lot in order to follow our callings. This is not a character flaw, and it absolutely shouldn't be a fatal flaw. So no matter what, we should have safe housing and food to eat and safe clothing and healthcare. It just seems really simple to me, especially in light of the story of the workers in the vineyard. Jesus is inviting us to see this form of compensation as the act of justice, rather than fairness that it is. And Jesus is calling us to do the same, to look out for each other, to lift each other up, to do justice and love righteousness and walk humbly, as it were. This is a good opportunity for all of us to look around at our own lives and our own circumstances and wonder, where are the opportunities to do justice? Are there employees in your company who are barely scraping by? Are there people showing up at your church asking for help with rent or utilities? Are there discussions in your circles being had about these strikes in Hollywood? All of these are opportunities for justice in the name of Jesus. So take some time together to discuss these questions that I've raised and the others that are on the discussion guide in the description of the video. And take a minute, comment on the video, let me know how your discussion went. I would really love to hear about it. And I'll see you next time.